Steelers have to go for it. 4th and goal at the 2. Here's the snap. He pops. He fires for the end zone. And it's juggled in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh! Pat Freiermuth, the Penn State rookie, pulled it in a combat catch.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh, was that a sweet play? He had the catch, he had the feet. That's all you need.
He liked that. He liked that. Come on, finish this. Here we go.
This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown.
That's the way to work. Come on.
He's been sacked. The Steelers win the football game.
Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi everybody, welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. Heading into the Browns game, the Steelers knew going against the top rushing team in the NFL would be a tough challenge. But the Steelers defense stood tall and only gave up 96 yards on the ground, while the Steelers offense didn't turn the ball over. They did face some adversity, however, when kicker Chris Boswell had to leave the game with a concussion due to a fake field goal that went all wrong. The Steelers, though, came back to Pittsburgh with a win and now are sitting at 4-3, while the Browns find themselves at the bottom of the division. For more on the Steelers' first AFC North win, let's head over to Bob Pompeani, who's with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
All right, Missy, thank you so much. Head coach Mike Tomlin is here talking about a win over the Cleveland Browns. And, of course, anytime you win a game in the National Football League, it's big. But when you win one in the division on the road, that's even bigger, I would assume. Your thoughts looking back at that game and the win that it produced?
You know, it was a big game for us. There were certain variables that were significant components of the matchup. Cleveland's ability to stop the run, Cleveland's ability to run the football have been calling cards for them in 2021. And so for us to win in a hostile environment, we had to negate that component of play. And largely that's the reason why we were successful. We were able to run the ball offensively and kind of control the flow of the game from that perspective. And on the other side, we largely were able to minimize Nick Chubb and their dynamic run game where they didn't get an opportunity to do so. And as the game wore on, I think that played in a factor in terms of how the game unfolded.
Yeah, it was interesting because your defense pretty much stuffed him, gave up yardage, but not a lot. And it seemed like it played into how the game unfolded. That is, the Browns had an opportunity on a 4th down and short where maybe they normally go for it. You had stopped them earlier in the game. Does that become part of, the gamesmanship in game that you guys have back and forth?
No question. That familiarity is a component of it. They had been an aggressive 4th down group. That first 4th down and 1 that they had on the 41 yard line, we were not surprised by at all. Felt like we had a good plan, but more importantly, we had a good execution of that plan. Cam Hayward really created big time disruption at the point of attack and made that ball go lateral. And we won that moment, and the residue of that, if you will, probably set the stage for the rest of the game from that perspective.
You talked about your run game, and Najee Harris, a very busy guy back there with 26 carries. And that seems the way things are going with you guys, that you're going to rely on that more. But specifically, you talked last week about the growth of your offensive line, these young guys who are coming together. There was a lot of physicality in that trench warfare going on, and you guys seem to win a lot of it with those young guys.
Yeah, they're young and they may lack experience, but not talent. And so, we have to be patient with their individual and collective growth and development, and we have been. But it's also reasonable to expect those guys to improve in a hurry and for their talents to show up more consistently in play. And thankfully, that's where we are right now. Their talents are showing up. Some of the negative things are being minimized. I will say we still have to clean up certain elements of our game from a penalty standpoint. That's still slowing down progress. I think it's reasonable for us to be at 0 in terms of pre-snap penalties. We're not there yet. Illegal formations, guys not aligned on the line of scrimmage, et cetera, has been a bugaboo for us some, and that's slowing progress. And so we still have some work ahead of us.
You talk about the, young guys stepping up. I think that applies to also your tight end situation. Pat Freiermuth has been emerging, and now you see Zach Gentry. Talk about Gentry and his emergence now. You're using him more. What has he done over the last couple of years to be in a position where you can count on him now on a pretty regular basis?
His growth and development is something that we pride ourselves in, to be quite honest with you. We met Zach at a pro day at University of Michigan. We go to Michigan every year but he was one of those guys that was probably like a B player. He had a big frame. He had a passion for football that was very evident. We took him in the later rounds, and he's developed. He's probably put on 20 or 20 plus pounds of really functional weight. He's a big-bodied tight end. He excels at matching up against 4-3 D ends. The outside linebacker matchup and the tight end matchup is a fair one at roughly 250 pounds or so. Some of those 4-3 ends that are in the 280s to 290s, it's a difficult fight oftentimes for tight ends. And that's why you see a lot of teams utilizing a third tackle as a tight end some. Zach gives us an opportunity to match that size at the tight end position. And so he's carved out a niche for himself, but he's also working on other aspects of his game to add contributions to us as well.
I don't know if you're a fan of dancing. I am, and I love fancy footwork. That Freiermuth thing would have made Gene Kelly proud. Talk about that. That's a combat catch, but not only that, the footwork. You had to be impressed with that.
That's an area of his game that he is really working on. The body control component is played out in the back of end zones and along the end line and so forth, but it's also played out in terms of run after catch. And it was also a big game for him from a run after catch standpoint. We threw him a couple balls in the flat, and he was able to make the first defender miss a couple of times and pack on additional yardage. And that's something that we're challenging him to grow in, and something that he has a desire to grow in. The significant tight ends, the unique ones, the ones that keep you up at night, like Kelsey or Kittles, man, those guys are not only dangerous in terms of their ability to catch the ball, but what they do with the ball after they get it. And so he's working and growing in all areas as well.
One more quick question before we wrap this segment up, and that would be the play you took responsibility for is the fake field goal, the injury to Boswell. But you talked about they had a picture. Can you explain that, and what does that mean? Did you guys just not get the play off early enough to make it successful?
Yeah, the ball wasn't snapped fluidly enough from a timing standpoint relative to the motion. And so when the motion comes over there and gets stationary, the defense gets an opportunity to digest what it is they're looking at. And that's what I mean when I say take a picture of it. When you have that moment or that image where you can go click, click, and take a look at an image before the ball snaps, in most cases a defense has a chance, or a defending special teams unit has a chance to rally and get guys covered up and make the required play. And so we didn't get the ball snapped in a timely manner relative to the motion. It created a stationary moment or two over there prior to the ball being snapped, and that gave their field goal block team all the time they needed to adjust and win the down.
All right, the Steelers looking to win another game. It would be 4 in a row. The Chicago Bears in town on a Monday night. When we come back, we'll get Coach Tomlin's thoughts about the 3-5 Bears. Right now, let's send it back over to Missy Matthews.
All right, thanks, Bob. But before we move on to Monday Night Football, it is worth mentioning that with the win in Cleveland, Coach Tomlin now ties Bill Cowher for the second most wins by a Steelers head coach. And here's another good record for you. Quarterback Ben Roethlisberger is 16-2 in 22 starts on Monday Night Football. As you said, we'll talk about the Bears and much more as the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show continues right after this break.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. Are you 84 Lumber material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
Chicago revamped its quarterbacks room this offseason when it brought in veteran QB Andy Dalton, and then a month later traded up 9 spots to select Justin Fields out of Ohio State in the NFL Draft. Fields is their current starter, and just last week, he became the 3rd rookie in NFL history to throw for a touchdown, rush for a touchdown, and have at least 100 rushing yards. For more on Fields and company, let's send it back over to Bob Pompeani and Coach Tomlin.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Chicago comes to town. It's a team that has won some games already, including one over Cincinnati. Coach, let's talk about Justin Fields. He looks like he's emerging, a young, talented quarterback. What have you seen from him? And talk about his strengths and weaknesses.
Very familiar with him. Did the required research on him prior to the draft and really like his skill set from a talent standpoint. But it was equally impressed with his intangibles, his character, his football intellect. He's a really solid young man. He's the type of guy that's capable of absorbing the responsibility that comes with being a guy that plays at a young age at that position. I'm not surprised that he's playing for them from a talent standpoint, but also just from a maturity and character standpoint. He just fits the mold. He's got very good arm talent, not only in terms of arm strength, but accuracy. His mobility is a challenge, and you can see as he gets more comfortable within what they're asking him to do, you're seeing his mobility become more of a factor in play. Last week was a big game. I think it was his first game over 100 yards rushing on about 10 carries. And so we got a lot to deal with when we're talking about minimizing his impact on the game with his really rock-solid skill set and demeanor.
You guys made a trade this week involving Melvin Ingram going to Kansas City for a future pick, a 6th-round pick. So let's talk about that, how it may affect this game. You have 2 linebackers playing very well as your starters. Are you concerned at all about the depth in this situation, given the fact that that quarterback can move a lot?
I'm really not. Due to unfortunate circumstances throughout team development, TJ missed time contractually and so forth. Alex Highsmith missed some time with a soft tissue injury. That provided a platform for young players to get additional snaps and grow and develop. Derek has played a lot and had a lot of practice snaps. Taco, as a practice squad player who got elevated for the first time and contributed to our win in Cleveland, has gotten a similar opportunity. And so we're comfortable with those guys and the depth that we have at the position and the snap exposure that they've been able to get in preparation because of the lack of availability of others. It's probably given us more of an indication of what they're capable of than we would have gotten if guys hadn't missed time. So, we got some change and transition there, but not anything that's alarming from our perspective. Really, it's the exact opposite. We're excited, particularly about seeing Taco getting an opportunity to play more. He's doing a nice job of assimilating into what we do here.
Your young offensive linemen, it seems like they get tests every week. You got some big ones. Last week it was Myles Garrett. It was also Jadeveon Clowney. Now this week Khalil Mack and the problems that Chicago can bring defensively. How comfortable are you with guys like Dan Morgan going up against guys like that, or anyone on that line? And it seems like last week you didn't give a lot of help over there. He seems to be progressing pretty nicely.
I think we're getting increasingly more comfortable with each passing week, but that's a reasonable expectation. Like we've been talking, these guys grow immensely with each passing week. They've been presented with some awesome challenges, some game records, some defensive player of the year type people in this last 4 games, a quarter of the season, if you will. We saw Von Miller in Denver. We saw Myles Garrett last week, and now we get an opportunity to see Mack. And so we're talking about defensive player of the year caliber people, guys that are known game records. And I think more than anything, I think our guys embrace the challenge of rising up in the face of that adversity. And I think they gain confidence with each passing week when they get an opportunity to see some of these guys and pit their skills against theirs and prove to themselves that they belong and are capable.
This week will be a color rush game, and I know your wife is heavily into fashion. Football and fashion go well together. Are you a fan of those? The record's pretty good when you guys are in those uniforms.
To be honest with you, man, that's pretty far down my to-do list. Not that I'm against it. I just got other pressing issues in terms of game readiness and plan development that oftentimes it's an afterthought for me. Many times I don't notice until we're at the stadium and in the bowl.
Well, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people are into. Those are one of the more popular color rush uniforms, but more than anything, they're popular when you win, and the Steelers are looking to make that another win this week, which would be 4 in a row. When we come back, we'll talk to Coach about all the keys to this week against the Chicago Bears. That's when we come back right here in the studio. Now let's send it back over to Missy.
All right, Bob, thanks so much. And speaking of those color rush uniforms, when wearing them, the Steelers are 6-1, so looking forward to Monday night. Still to come, Merril Hoge is in the Factor Back studio to break down some X's and O's from Cleveland. Plus, up next, Coach Tomlin's better half, Kiya, gives us a peek into her world of fashion and how it's mixed with his love of football. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Steelers Nation Rock Steelers Style was a huge success at Heinz Field on Friday night, all thanks to Greta Rooney and Kiya Tomlin, who play a huge role in the Steelers' annual fashion show. Kiya Tomlin's looks are always a showstopper, and she showed us how her growing company is now working with the NFL.
I'd always been interested in fashion. I don't know why nobody else in my family was. I was always just very tiny, and I couldn't fit into the clothes that all the other kids were wearing. And so I asked for a sewing machine and learned to sew so that I could make my own clothes. I've always had a kind of obsession with how clothes fit. The kind of work I do is very active. I'm climbing on cutting tables, I'm like scooching around the floor, hemming things, and I wanted something that I could present well for clients, but also move around at work. And so I designed what we call our signature dress now, and it was just a sweatshirt dress that could go from day to night very easily, and it was really just for myself. And I got so many compliments on it that I decided to, make a few more. The fit interest in my mind kept wanting to make it better and make sure it fit a variety of people, and so the collection slowly started growing. I knew I wanted to find a place where we could do it all in one location. We could sell, we could manufacture, and it would just be vertically integrated and just really convenient. And so we found this building here in Etna, and it was just perfect. A wide open space, storefront, neighborhood that was gaining some love, and that's where we are now. This new collection that we've just launched, which is the Kiya Tomlin Steelers collection, which is an NFL licensed product, came about because women kept asking me to design Steeler clothes, and the more that I listened to the women, I realized that they wanted something that was more elegant than a jersey and more fashionable than a t-shirt, and so we gave it a shot.
All right, from fashion back to football. Merril Hoge loved what he saw from the Steelers on both sides of the ball in Cleveland, and here's 2 plays he broke down in this week's playbook.
Let's first start with the defense. The second quarter, this 4th and 1 play. Baker Mayfield is going to move his leg here. He's going to send the tight end in motion, who's going to line up here in the backfield. Watch what the Steelers defensive line does to this when they go in motion. Let's look at that first. Well, why do they shift like that? They know this. They love the power O. This tight end is set perfectly. And the Cleveland Browns have 6 offensive linemen here. The Steelers counter that with their best defensive linemen at the point of attack. Watch the snap. All I got to do is stop it right there. This is ridiculous. That right there, same foot, same shoulder, rising blow. Every coaching point you could ask a player to do is done right here. It's ruined the run. The blocker here, he's going to even be affected. This guy is a non-factor. This guy has to adjust. But the real effect, this runner who wants to stay here, Chubb, now has to go here. Once you disrupt penetration, the #1 killer in the running game, you have your runner. They don't get the first down. Now we're going to go to the 4th and 2, the touchdown play to Freiermuth. Everybody in the world has seen this catch, ridiculous throw. But everybody missed this. Najee Harris is over here. Watch Ben, he's going to move him over here. Well, why does he do that? Well, he knows this. My tackle has a short corner. It isn't like this tackle and this tight end where it's wider. Oh, and by the way, their pass rusher, best one, Myles Garrett's right here. I need help here. Let me bring Najee over here to help out so I can throw it. Watch him. He brings him over. Watch the advantage and how this happens. Now, when he goes to pump there, he's going to hold the ball for a second. This is over. This is over. Unless Najee's there to make a key block. He doesn't do that. This pass doesn't happen. Therefore, the catch doesn't happen. They got to keep playing like this. And if they keep playing like this, they got a good chance to beat the Chicago Bears.
And you can catch more from Merril on the Steelers YouTube page. Well, the Steelers play in the last game of the Week 9 slate, a Monday night meeting with the Chicago Bears at Heinz Field. Pittsburgh has won 19 consecutive Monday night football games at home. How will they make it 20? Let's find out now. It's time for our Keys to the Game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Here's Bob Pompeani and Coach Tomlin.
All right, Missy. Well, let's talk about Chicago's offense and what you need to do to neutralize it. You guys have, when you play the defense you're capable of, Coach, I mean, we saw the results in Buffalo. We saw it in Cleveland. What do you got to do to slow this team down because they're a team capable?
It starts with smashing the run for us. And usually that's regardless of opponent, but especially this week. The Bears are a top 5 rushing team. Quarterback mobility is also a major factor in terms of playing them. So we're going to have our hands full in terms of minimizing the run game component of play. They played with multiple backs this year. They started the season with David Montgomery as their featured runner, a talented young guy out of Iowa State. who's missed some time due to injury, and he's giving way to Hubbard, another young guy from Virginia Tech. But the interesting thing is both of those runners have over 300 and so yards rushing. You put their totals together, you're looking at about a 700-yard rushing total for a featured runner. They're number 5 again in the league in rushing offense, and so it starts there for us. We had a good week in that regard last week playing against Cleveland. It's important that we continue to build and not take a step back in terms of our run defense.
And offensively, it appears as if you guys are going to lean more on the run game and just the power football that comes with that, which I think obviously helps the pass game. We saw Ben last week in the 2 critical drives go 11 for 14. How do those two work together, and is that something you'd like to continue?
I think it's balance for us. And so, yes, we have run the ball increasingly well in recent weeks, but it's in an effort to have balance on offense so that we can run it when we choose to, we can pass it when we choose to, and work to keep defenses off balance. A good example of that is, at the end of the game on second down, we were able to hit Deontay Johnson on an RPO in a run circumstance and get a 50-yard chunk and really kind of put the game away. And so when you're able to run the ball and you're able to throw the ball, you have that balance that allows you to make decisions in those moments to keep people off balance, to do what it is you desire to do, which is move the chains, ring the scoreboard up, possess the ball, and win the game.
Well, that's going to be the objective. Chicago comes in here at 3-5. The Steelers looking to make it 4 in a row after winning last week in Cleveland. Coach, thanks very much for the time. We appreciate it. Good luck on Monday night.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for our program today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back at you again next Saturday night for another edition of the program. For Missy Matthews, head coach Mike Tomlin, and all the people here at Steelers.com and KDK-TV, I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a good night. We'll see you again next Saturday night right here for another edition of the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show on KDKA.